Sifter for the ear.
News, interviews, reviews, cinema, TV, streaming. Action.
Hi, y'all. This is Jerry Williams, a.k.a. TV Jerry, back from vacation.
I just sort of reach out to help her grab my arm, and then her hand goes up my arm, over my shoulder, and down over my chest, and then down to my stomach.
That was today's guest, Bunt Young, talking about a famous actor who got a bit handsy on one of his shoots. Bunt Young is a native Richmonder who started his career as a cinematographer when he was still a teenager. He's worked on TV shows, motion pictures, and commercials, and has lots of great stories. And it will be revealed who was so bold with Bunt on the set during the interview.
Sifter Review of the Week.
Downton Abbey, the grand finale. The Crawleys and their staff are back for a final wrap-up of the franchise. All the primary characters have returned to their privileged life when scandal erupts. In addition, financial issues threaten their heritage. This is basically more of the same from creator Julian Fellowes. Challenges met with grace, smart dialogue, interesting character development, and lovely visuals. It's like settling into an old estate, musty memories and all. The returning cast continues their appeal with a few new characters for spice. Fans of the show will find this a well-done, expected finale with everyone happy. I gave Downton Abbey the grand finale 3.5 out of 5 stars. Bunt Young, welcome back to Sifter for the Ear.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back.
So, of course, we started the beginning of this year with the tables turn. You were doing your impression of me as TV Jerry, and I was being interviewed, and now I get to turn the tables and interview you. First question, where did this impression thing start? How did that get started with you?
Late teens. I was in high school when I discovered I had the ability to do impressions of mostly my teachers. And it came to the headmaster's attention that I could do impressions of teachers and of the headmaster. So he came up, and I'll do an impression of him. He's like, I understand, Bunt, you do impressions. Oh, yes, sir. I'm sorry. I knew I was in trouble somehow. And he smiled and he went, no, I think the school would appreciate a performance during assembly.
Oh, great.
And I had nothing scripted. I just did what was on my mind, what I knew. And it was a big hit. And all the teachers got red-faced but laughed, including the headmaster. And the students, they just went nuts for it.
And that was at Stewart School, right?
That's right.
So do you do anybody famous that people might recognize, or do you only do people that you've interacted with?
I have to have some in-person presence to observe. It's not just the voice, it's also the mannerisms and everything like that. I could do the things that people, everybody does, a Michael Caine or Christopher Walken, It's something I never wanted to do in terms of I didn't choose to do these kind of things. I just discovered I could do it and that people responded to it.
I know impressions are not your main thing. Obviously, you make your living behind the camera. And before we get started, because you've done a little bit of all of this, why don't you give the listeners a quick tutorial on the difference between being the A camera, B camera, additional photography, second unit, even C camera. What does all that mean?
That's a really good question. I have been the director of photography or cinematographer.
Right.
A director of photography is really a formal name as a head of a department. And the cinematographer is a craftsperson who does those things. And I've done that since the mid-'80s in various ways, in television and in movies and in commercials. Second unit is in charge of an additional unit that is shooting, but you're always going to be working for the principal DP because you want to be able to have your material seamlessly fit into everything that person's doing.
So that's lighting and framing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the focal lengths, the T-stop, filtration, everything. But really, the second unit has to do with mostly getting pieces that don't involve principal players.
Could be exteriors or driving shots, stuff that doesn't have you.
Cars passing by and any other inserts. Of course, there are insert cinematographers, but really, second unit includes inserts where they want to finish up something that doesn't need the principal players and doesn't need the whole unit spinning their wheels waiting for this little close-up of that and the stopwatch and the iPhone and, you know, the reverse of that.
So what you mean by inserts is like it might be the close-up, like you say, of somebody dialing a phone or somebody pouring a drink that doesn't necessarily even have to have the main actor doing it.
That's right. You just need somebody whose hands will double.
Right.
Surprise guest drop in.
We want to start way back at the beginning of your career because somebody wanted to drop in and say a little something about that time.
Footnote.
Charlie Riley is a longtime Richmond videographer and video producer. Charlie Riley, welcome back to Sifter for the Ear, and I think your experiences with Bunt go way back.
I first met Bunt, I think he was probably 15 or 16. I'm not sure what age he was when he started at Channel 23.
Footnote.
Channel 23 was an earlier name for the PBS station, which was WCVE and is now VPM.
Yeah, I started in December of 79 as an intern and was hired in the summer of 80 as part-time.
What do you remember about innocent young Bunt Young from those days?
The thing that impressed me about Bunt was that he was eaten up with photography. And I thought, well, this kid is going to be somebody to watch. Several years later, after he'd worked at CBE for a while, there was an opportunity for me to hire him at BES.
Footnote.
BES was the area's first big production company, and I'll include a link to the podcast I did with the founder, Guy Spiller, on the webpage for this show at TV Jerry.
When I asked Karen and Guy about hiring him, Karen was insistent that he was too young and he was too immature. And I said, well, I probably agree with you on some of that, but I think he's worth taking a gamble on. And if you just let me deal with him, then I'm pretty sure I can bring him around. So the very first day that he was supposed to show up for work, the little shite was late. And Karen's sitting there tapping her fingers on the desk, and we're wondering, okay, what's wrong? So Bunt shows up, and I took Bunt aside, and I said, look, I covered your tail today, but the next time, you're on your own. And there never was a next time. You know, Bunt has made a name for himself singularly by his devotion to the work and the spectacular results that he gets. When I left, they immediately had you step in and raise the bar to go beyond video and into the film world.
Yeah.
Which was great.
I'm really grateful for that opportunity.
Well, Charlie, thank you for dropping in. It's always good to talk to you, and thank you for being a mentor to Bunt and so many other people.
It's been my great joy. I continue to do it to this day. I got a couple of hot interns that I've been working with for the last year.
And I'm immensely grateful to Charlie back in those days of helping me and mentoring me as he did, but being a good friend to this day. Love and adore him.
Love you too, buddy.
All right. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You've worked on so many movies and so many shows, and we obviously can't talk about all of them because it would take us hours and hours. Tell me some of the highlight things. I know The New World with Terrence Malick was a big one.
Footnote.
The New World was shot in Virginia in 2004 and directed by Terrence Malick, who's best known for Days of Heaven.
I did additional photography, which is unlike second unit and the principal unit. Additional photography is usually when someone is hired to come back after everybody is wrapped to get things that they could not get there. For example, I was brought in to shoot transitional scenes from the period of winter and springtime that would help them transition from one season to the other. They would make in close-up with their principal actors the fake snow and everything look like winter when they shot everything in The New World during the summer.
Right.
It was interesting because my wife, Jeannie, was casting all of the extras and day players, Native Americans and colonists.
Footnote.
Jeannie is Jeannie Boiseneau, who's now a pastry chef and confectioner, but in her previous career was an actor in theater and film, a VO artist, and then a casting director.
But because she was in Williamsburg so much of the time, there were a few auditions that I taped for her in her office on mini DV. And her office had dark olive walls, track lighting and fluorescent lighting. And I used both and gave them some realistic but usable lighting just for this audition. So Jeannie is sitting down with Terrence Malick and Sarah Green, their line producer, watching a series of auditions, and gets to the one tape that I shot. Terry just went, "Jeannie, do you like and shoot all your auditions?" And she said, "No, my husband, who's a DP, did this for me in Richmond." He just looked at Sarah and said, "Sarah, get his number and get me a reel. I want to see his stuff. He'd be great for doing the transitions stuff."
Cool.
The one winter storm that we had that came after that, which is when I went in to shoot for a day of true winter scenes, he and I would get on the phone. And we had 3 conversations before the winter scene, and we had 2 conversations before the springtime scene. Each one lasted no less than 45 minutes.
Wow.
And you can guess I wasn't doing the talking. and it sounds insane, and it kind of is, but I loved it because I'm sitting there in the parking lot of a Barnes and Noble while my wife is inside on the phone with Terrence Malick talking about the redbuds coming out and the dogwoods and the gentle breezes and the colors and all that kind of stuff, which it sounds over the top, but I got to tell you, that's part of his magic, is that he really is just obsessed with nature and with the forces of nature in everything, including human behavior. I lapped it up, and I was pleased to see that of the 9,500 feet of film that I shot combined, 5 shots of mine got into the cut, and there are more in his final endless cut. And they shot 2 million feet of film in principle because he never uttered the word cut.
Wow. Now, you mentioned all the stuff you did, the live pit camera, the Indy 500s, all that racing, sportsy stuff. Were there some cool experiences about that? I know it was a lot of it, but was there something that was particularly memorable, unusual about shooting some of that?
Oh, sure. I was a handheld pit cameraman for really all the networks. By way of that, I would be asked by ABC Sports and by CBS Sports to do other events that they did. 1990 in July at Cleveland, a very unremarkable race visually because it was held on the Burke Lakefront Airport.
Oh, nice.
On Lake Erie.
Great.
So really you had nothing other than the cars, concrete and concrete barriers. I remember Al Unser Jr.'s, I think it was his second fuel stop. They cut to me live just behind the concrete barrier wall and looking 3/4 toward the front of his car. And the fuel guys go in to do the fuel. And with Indy cars, it's pressurized fuel. There have to be 2 hoses, one that goes in the side that pulls the fuel in, and then one at the top to relieve all the air. The fuel things go in, and the fuel hose didn't seat all the way. So all this methanol gushes all over the car.
Oh, Lord.
And immediately ignites. And methanol there's no color to the flame. When you know there's a fire, you know because of the response of the people who are on fire. It's like people being attacked by bees. All you see are heat waves. You don't see any color to the flames. And it's a very quick ignition. It's immediate.
Yeah.
And that was happening live via my camera. And the front left tire changer runs screaming right past me. Other people are getting out. And one of the people on my crew with me grabs the shoulder straps of my fire suit and pulls me back while we're on air. And it was a pretty big event. Fortunately, nobody was badly hurt, some minor burns, but
as you said, they were all wearing fire suits, so that at least helps.
yes, and that includes those of us doing cameras and other work in the pits. Every event, we had to have not only a fire suit, but full-length turtleneck long underwear treated in Nomex.
Nomex, and that's hot stuff.
In July and August, it's a younger man's position.
Right. Mercy Street, Lake City, A Haunting, American Dreamer. What are some of the a good story or two from some of those that might be interesting to share with people?
American Dreamer, which is, I think turned out to be a really good film for a director named Derek Bort.
Footnote.
Derek Bort directed American Dreamer that starred Jim Gaffigan in a serious role. Very talented.
Very talented and a go-getter. He doesn't sit still. He and I met when I was doing a lot of these crime shows for Discovery Channel. down in Hampton. I did those for a number of years, from 09 to 15, I think. And Derek directed a number of those, and we really got along well. I did the second unit and B camera for American Dreamer, which was a low-budget independent film that they shot down in Norfolk. One funny thing, Eric told me when I got down there, he goes, so just so you know, Gaffigan, he plays like an Uber driver, but Jim doesn't drive.
Oh, no.
And Jim Gaffigan has said this in other interviews later on, that I'm really not a good driver. I don't drive at all. I'm terrible. I did some scenes where we had to get shots of him actually driving. And what we did was got a really big parking lot, and this is at night. So we would have clear space, and I would be getting shots of him as he would do that and driving at a very reduced speed, but with the lights passing by so you could cut it in and make it look like he was driving down the road.
And you were in the passenger seat or you were outside of the car?
I was in the passenger seat. Actually, no, I wasn't, because at that time it had become known that when you sit in the passenger seat as a camera operator, and we'd been doing this for years, since the introduction of airbags, it's actually kind of dangerous to look to the left with a camera to the right of you. If something happens and that airbag goes off, that camera comes right through your head.
Yeah.
So it was done in a way where I could operate from the back seat with the camera on a furniture pad, on an Apple box, in place of my body. You see?
Okay,
so
cool.
That's how we executed it safely. And it just a fluke. This is really kind of my fault. It's in the middle of the night. Nobody's out there. We did have to loop around by going onto the road for a very, very short stretch. And there was a traffic signal. And out of the corner of my eye, I can see that it's red in our direction. But I hear the AD in the background just says, go ahead and go through. You're clear.
Oh, no.
I didn't hear it. I mean, but that's apparently what he said. And as soon as he went through it, I went, hold it, because I thought it was unsafe. And after we were done, I said, I'm sorry, I screwed up. It was just a need. And everybody was like, it's all fine and so forth. After we were done, I said my goodbyes, and I said my goodbye to Jim. I said, Jim, it was a treasure working with you and enjoying meeting you. Thank you so much. And he said, thank you, Bunt. I'm sorry I almost killed you. And I said, you didn't, but I appreciate the sentiment. I mean, we did chat a little bit before that, and he says, I hate driving. I never, ever want to drive. But he was fun. Working with him, talking with him, he loves doing stuff like that.
Sure,
It's not just
Against
to
type.
stand up and whatever. He loves any kind of challenge as an actor. And I admire that.
Of course, there's our friend Mike Henry, Richmonder, who went out to Hollywood and did well and came back here and did some stuff. I know you've worked with him more than once.
Footnote.
Mike Henry is a Richmond native who became most famous as the voice of Cleveland Brown on Family Guy.
He and I did a commercial that he got very little money for. He knew the owners of the bar very well, the Texas-Wisconsin Border Cafe, which is no longer with us, but it was a mainstay back in the day. He said, I got a great opportunity. Let's do something that we want to do. We shot it at a very good friend of mine, her house in the Fan District, and we shot it in black and white and in anamorphic, thanks to my good friend Mark Mervis's equipment that he had.
Footnote.
Anamorphic creates a wide aspect ratio image, and Mark Mervis is another Richmond native and cinematographer.
The premise is that it's this nice young couple is coming up onto the front porch to the door of her house after this date.
I had a really good time with you tonight.
I did too. It was a wonderful evening. Thank you.
I'm glad.
I really enjoyed the restaurant.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
The food tasted quite good.
It's always good there.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I've been holding that in ever since we left the restaurant.
Right. I should go.
It's very funny, very memorable. Mike got that aired in time to qualify for advertising award shows, and it did really well at the One Show in New York and at the Richmond Ad Show in 1996. And the Martin Agency is a huge agency. It's
Sure.
been
Yeah.
one of the leading agencies in the country for a good number of years. And they pretty much owned the show. Well, that year, we won gold for television and we won best in show. And it shocked everybody, including us.
Yeah.
I can't remember the year. I think it was 2000. Mike was living in New York, auditioning and trying to make his way in as an actor. And he got an opportunity to help a group called the Upright Citizens Brigade make an underground film.
Footnote.
The Upright Citizens Brigade, aka UCB, is an improv and sketch comedy group.
They had a contract with Comedy Central to produce some content. And they wanted to do an underground film that might, at least parts of which might be able to get on Comedy Central. So with very little money, I got 16 millimeter camera. Mike and his brother Patrick, who was staying with him at the time, got a number of rolls of film. And Patrick was the sound man. I was the cameraman. No assistant, no crew, just the three of us. And Mike was the liaison between UCB and everything getting done. And it did eventually get picked up by Comedy Central. It was called the Little Donnie Foundation. And it was about an 8-year-old boy who was 6 feet tall and was very well endowed. And that this was a medical issue. And Amy Poehler played the mom of Little Donnie, as well as a bunch of other characters. And it was a great group. It was the four of them, Amy Poehler and 3 other guys.
They didn't get famous.
Not as. Actually, Matt Walsh did. He was on
Yeah,
Veep.
Matt, sure. Yeah, yeah.
All of them, very funny. Amy was a delight to work with, and I got early on to see firsthand how many characters she could play just by changing a wig, changing her wardrobe, and a delight to work with.
This was pre-SNL, too, of course. Yeah.
Yes, by a couple of years, I'd say.
Yeah.
All of the UCB members were extremely talented, but I could tell there was no question, she was the star. After we wrapped and I came back to Richmond, and Mike and Patrick are in the editing room, and they called me to say, just wanted you to know, Amy wanted to ask a lot of questions about you. And I said, well, what do you mean? They went like, they thought you lived here in New York and she wanted to get in touch with you. And I'm like, oh, I'm very flattered. And I went, yeah, she really liked you. And I said, okay.
I see, yes. Obviously, if anybody who knows you know you've always been a handsome man. Has that ever come up again when you've been on a set with another woman or a man who came on to you?
A few years ago, my good friend and colleague, Mark Mervis, was brought on to DP a very small picture down in Georgia. And they had a situation last minute where they needed a second unit and a B camera operator, and went down there. And it had, among a number of other famous people in this independent, Cloris Leachman. Mark was operating the A camera one day, and I'm on the B camera on a day exterior. And Cloris, in character, gets out of the car, and her son-in-law is taking her around and leaves Mark's frame, passes through my frame. And as she passes by the camera, I feel her hand grabbing my left arm.
Oh.
And I thought she needed me to help hold herself up because this was a few years before she passed away. She was elderly. So as I lean out, this is before the word cut is uttered, I just sort of reach out to help her grab my arm. And then her hand goes up my arm, over my shoulder, and down over my chest, and then down to my stomach.
Oh, my goodness.
I hear the word cut, and I turn around and I said, you need to behave yourself. And her daughter, who was with her on all of these to be her assistant, had already handed her her Snickers bar. That's her reward for finishing a take.
Oh, wow.
She had a Snickers bar in her hand, and she bit into it, and she went, you behave yourself. And she was a delight. And there was one other night, it was a night shoot, and in between setups, she walked past me again with a Snickers bar in her hand, and everybody's watching. We're doing a walkthrough for the setup of what we're about to do. And then she grabs my stomach again and starts doing that whole business. And I said, I thought I told you to behave yourself. And she just came back and gave me that look. And she went, with her Snickers bar in hand, you are too handsome to be so fat.
Oh.
And I went, I've heard that before. She said, you're too handsome. You need to lose weight. She did all kinds of stuff like that. She teased Mark all through it.
What have you been up to lately?
I have been teaching at VCU in the cinema program.
Oh, really? Cool.
This is my 6th year, maybe my 7th year now.
Wow.
Adjunct, teaching cinematography classes, camera classes, and I work a lot with Charlie Harris.
I was going to say, Charlie Harris is all over that place, yeah.
He's foundational to that program. We have a lot of fun, and it's very rewarding.
Well, this wasn't too painful, was it, Bunt?
No, it was probably more painful for you and Charlie than for me, because Jeannie will tell you, it's like, oh God, please just get to the point.
That's why I have editing.
If this were live, oh God, it'd be terrible.
I want to thank you again for your beautiful body of work all those years, and thanks to your lovely wife for her contributions to your success.
Well, I appreciate the invitation, and I appreciate the opportunity, but this has been a delight, and I really do appreciate it, Jerry.
That was Richmond-based cinematographer Bunt Young talking about his experiences shooting movies and TV shows. I'll include a link to his IMDb page, plus the Border Cafe commercial and Amy Poehler clips on the webpage for this show at tvjerry.com.
Coming soon. In theaters.
One battle after another. The latest from Paul Thomas Anderson is an action film starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Sean Penn, Benicio del Toro, and Regina Hall. The Lost Bus. Matthew McConaughey plays a school bus driver who navigates 22 children through the 2018 campfire, from director Paul Greengrass. Gabby's Dollhouse, the movie. The popular series hits the big screen. The Strangers, Chapter 2. More masked strangers terrorize a couple on their road trip. Eleanor the Great. Scarlett Johansson directs June Squidd in this title role. Dead of Winter. Emma Thompson plays a woman traveling through Minnesota when she runs into the kidnapping of a teenage girl. Strange Journey. The story of Rocky Horror. The title sums up this documentary of the play and the film.
TV and streaming.
Wayward on Netflix. It's about a town that explores the troubled teen industry. American Prince, JFK Jr. on HBO, a 3-part series about John F. Kennedy Jr.'s life, legacy, and his creation of George Magazine. Billionaire's Bunker on Netflix. When World War III is about to break out, a group of billionaires takes refuge in a luxury bunker. Swiped on Hulu, inspired by the story of Whitney Wolfe Herd, founder of the dating platform Bumble. The Devil is Busy on HBO. An Atlanta abortion clinic is besieged by protesters, and their director has to safeguard the staff and the patients. Next week, we'll meet 2 filmmakers coming to this year's In Thrive Festival, and they both address prison closures in very different ways. This is Jerry Williams. Thanks for listening.
For more Sister, including literally thousands of reviews,
visit tvjerry.com.